to the Super Bowl. And thank goodness he didn't take Nick's advice.
That wasn't my advice.
Would have cost him $20 million.
That would have really cost.
It was my advice to the Bills. They should have taken it.
The agent world was laughing at you.
Well, the GM world's laughing at Brandon Beane.
It was your advice to him.
You know what? Because I foolishly thought
it.
Brandon Beane would understand the marketplace.
Meanwhile, Dan Campbell's motivated. Will losing both coordinators lead to more losses on the field?
I'm glad he's motivated. He should be ticked off.
Oh,
How dare they question it?
Ooh. And finally, shout out to ESPN's NFL Nation. We do our own version of Ceiling and Floors for our four most controversial teams.
I don't know that they're the foremost.
They kind of are.
They're our four most controversial teams.
I don't.
Every time we talk them, it's hot.
No, it's two of them. Two of them are hot. It's not that hot when we talk the Steelers or the Patriots.
The Steelers are hot.
And they're in there.
Steelers get hot. He makes the Patriots hot.
Also, I'm not ready to say that yet.
Well, go ahead. Say it.
I told Nick earlier, so I just want to let you know. And since you want to do this Kyrie Durant story, if anyone mentions Trey Hendrickson's contract situation, which is still unresolved, we don't need to discuss it. We're immediately ending the segment.
So you don't want any mention of it.
Listen,
we're going to immediately end the segment. I'll be like, Brew, you sent us an interesting tweet. We immediately start there. Yes. We start with Peyton and Jalen. Yesterday we had Tom Brady, the GOAT, talking about Patrick Mahomes. Today, another version of that. Peyton Manning talking about Jalen Hurts. Take a listen.
I like the way he goes about it. He calls me a lot. It asks me lots of questions. They actually run a lot of plays that we used to run, Sirianni to Frank Wright to Tom Moore, sort of that chain. And he calls me with very specific questions about certain plays. So he's a student of the game. You know, as another example, you think, I mean, he squats 600 pounds. He can, run over guys. He can throw it a mile. But his appreciation of the cerebral part of the game is what's impressive to me, and how he's taken his game to the next level. And I think the sky's the limit for this guy.
But when I say it.
You don't say the sky's the limit. You say he's already in the sky. You say he's already there. Peyton is saying he can get there.
Get where?
You're saying
where
exactly.
Where is there to go?
Exactly. Yell at Peyton.
You're on the edge of the universe.
Exactly.
He won the Super Bowl in a blowout.
There we go.
And was the MVP.
Had 3 touchdowns, ran for more yards than Saquon Barkley, even though Saquon carried the team. Yeah. Threw for 2 touchdowns.
Yell at Peyton.
Where else is there to go?
Yell at Peyton. We haven't even said anything.
He's in the sky.
That's not what he said. He said the sky's the limit. That means he's ascending. I'm just telling you, yell at Peyton, not at us. You're always yelling at us.
Peyton's on my side.
I'm not sure about that, but go ahead. Sorry.
Do you think Jalen Hurts needs to improve for an Eagles repeat?
No.
Thank you.
I mean,
Peyton, what a trio.
Not to piggyback on what's become one of your, signature things now about Hurts not being able to win the Super
Bowl.
Not one of them. I think his signature thing.
He just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He just proved he's good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Hello.
Yes.
And in fact, he's been to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls and balled out.
Yeah.
Now, some are going to say, well, Saquon's not going to rush for 2,000 yards again. Of course he's not.
Yeah.
But guess what? 3 years ago, when they didn't even have Saquon Barkley on the team, Miles Sanders was their best running back. And he went for 1,200 some odd yards. Saquon can do that. But even so, with Miles Sanders as the running threat, they reached the Super Bowl. Jalen was second in the MVP race. And the defense was not the best. It was like 8th in points allowed. So we can't just say he only got there last year because the defense was the best in the league and he had the best running back in the league. Because when he didn't have that 3 years ago, he still got him to the Super Bowl.
Well, 3 years ago, I think they had the most sacks of any team in 40 years and the #1 yards defense.
Okay, the defense was very good. I think the defense is going to be the defense has to be good. But it wasn't the best in terms of points allowed in the league. And so I think he has proven, now he needs to obviously be good, but he's proven he is good enough as he is. If he doesn't improve and just kind of does what he does, yes, they can still win the NFC and get to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so I disagree with that because I don't think, he's obviously doesn't need to improve for last year's Eagles to win last year's Super Bowl. Like that happened. The point where I disagree with you, Brew, is in that acting as if in 2023 or 2 years ago, so 2022, pardon me, when they made the Super Bowl then, I think most people thought that was the best defense in football. It was #1 yards. We talked all year long about how it was like since the '86 Bears, the most sacks.
It was great,
all of that.
But it wasn't in points allowed.
It wasn't in points allowed, but it was #1 in yards, #8 in points allowed. And so everybody understands, and I understand the tongue-in-cheek joke Wildes was making yesterday, which is it is not a question anymore. Can you win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts? Because they did win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. The question that I think everyone is asking when it comes to Jalen Hurts is, if the Eagles this year are not as dominant in every category other than passing as they were last year, will they? And this is what I want to talk to you about. Because this is where I don't think we have that big of a disagreement, but it feels like we have a massive disagreement. So the Jalen Hurts story is, going into that season when they got to the Super Bowl, nobody thought he was that good. Nobody had any expectations for Jalen Hurts going into that season. Then he was excellent throughout that year to the tune of second in MVP voting, excellent in the Super Bowl, and he came out in that NFL Top 100 list, the #3 player in the league. It was Patrick 1, I think Justin Jefferson, some receiver 2, Jalen Hurts 3. And going into 2 years ago, he had all the respect that I think Wildes is demanding he have now that you feel he doesn't have. Again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
That's fair.
And then last year, or 2 years ago, they then leaned into the idea that they have an elite quarterback, having paid him like he were an elite quarterback, and the team fell apart at the end of the year, and the bloom was a little bit off the rose for Jalen Hurts. And then last season, they started the year as if they have an elite quarterback, and the team was not that good. And then, over the next 4 months of football, as Coach talks about all the time, they asked Jalen to do what he does best and not do what we've never seen him do, which is be a high-volume passer, which leads to winning, and the team was utterly dominant. So the question people have is, if the circumstances on the ground change this year to where he has to be the player they asked him to be in 2023, the player they were asking him to be in 2024, will he be able to produce in ways he couldn't those years? And I don't think that's an unfair question.
So 3 years, when he was second in MVP?
He wasn't a high-volume passer that year. No,
he threw 30 passes a game.
But it was, again, but it went up the following season.
Right.
Just a couple of games. That is, and so the thing that what I don't understand I understand your frustration if people are like, you know what, Jalen Hurts, he's not that good. I totally get that, but I don't think anybody's saying that anymore. I don't. I mean, you're angry that he was tied with what? C.J. Stroud for the 9th best quarterback in football when you think he's 5th?
I thought it was unfair to Jalen Hurts that there was guys ahead of him on Mike Sando's athletic poll who have fallen apart in the playoffs.
But Lamar's one of those guys, and you think Lamar's better than him.
Lamar is a multiple-time MVP. Justin Herbert is not.
So Jordan
Love has had little pops of success.
He was ahead of Love. He was ahead. I thought he was ahead of Jordan Love.
I thought it was Jaden Herbert.
Goff. I thought it was Jaden Herbert, Goff, and then he was there. So I guess
Goff is one.
The point. So do you? Right now, it seems like, maybe I'm wrong, if you were to do your quarterback rankings, you have him 4th or 5th.
Yes, I think he has earned the right to be considered a top 5 quarterback.
Top 5.
That's it.
Right.
I'm not trying to say he's the best quarterback in the world. I'm saying if you've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years and are Super Bowl MVP and win at a rate that is right up there with the best quarterbacks of all time, really.
Yep.
Then you have earned a spot in the top 5. And I think it is absurd and unfair, mostly, that's where I really get angry, to put guys who are still whose only resume are filled with hypotheticals. If you traded this guy to the Eagles, what? That's the main point for a lot of the arguments for Justin Herbert. if he got traded to the Eagles.
So the Herbert, listen,
about?
I agree with you, and I guess the reason that I think most people, and Brew's one of them, has it as a firm top 4, not a firm top 5, and this is where maybe the disagreement is. I think that there is a level of confidence that for Patrick, Josh, Lamar, or Joe, that as long as they're there and healthy, that team's offense is going to be elite. And I think that because we haven't seen Jalen thrive, and it's not his fault, it's not totally his fault. They gave him the chance in 2023 and didn't work out. Under the circumstances that we have seen those 4 guys lead to prolific offenses without amazing weapons, without amazing everything around him, that he is considered a class below, not a tier 1 quarterback like those guys. I don't think that's disrespectful. He has the contract of a superstar, the endorsements of a superstar, the general ranking of he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. You think he's 5, I think he's 7. And it's like, but it doesn't seem like there's that big of a discrepancy. And it feels like a straw man disrespect. I don't think people are out there here anymore saying Jalen Hurts is carried. I don't see that.
Okay.
I don't.
If that's going to be a universal opinion, I'm okay with that.
I do think
if
some
we have
people feel
fought that fire and it is now over, great. I still think people think that Jalen Hurts is being carried by this team. If that fight is over, I would love it.
I think that you don't think that people think that he is an important part of what they do, but not the lead singer of the band? Because that's what I think.
I think many people feel that way, but I do think some significant people do think he's kind of being carried. You put any really good, like, competent quarterback in there.
So I think that I think there also, while stats aren't everything, when the signature year of his career, he didn't throw for 3,000 yards or 20 touchdowns. Fair or not, that is
about last year.
Yes, that is going
2 years ago he did.
Right,
or
but
3 years ago, whatever it was.
But we're basing this off the Super Bowl MVP and what he did in the postseason. When that is who you are, you know, who your team asks you to be, there is going to be a ceiling on public perception. Like I just think that's reality, like across sports, so to speak. Like I do think the Eagles are not going to have the league's #1 defense, and they're not going to have the greatest rushing season ever this year, so they're going to need more from him. I think
but he's shown he can give you more. He showed that in 2022.
Again, I think you're underrating.
No, the defense was really good, but they didn't have the run game.
They did not have the run game.
And the defense, they got a ton of sacks, but that's not all there is to defense.
I think that they are. I would argue that the 2 years they went to the Super Bowl, they had an argument that year they were the best defense in football. You could make a statistical or eye test argument. I think that in all likelihood, because of the personnel losses this year, that they are going to be closer to the 8th best defense in football as far as then the 1st best, in which case they're going to need more from their offense. And so that's where I think he will need to do more this year. And I think that'll be interesting to see if he can. Because that part, I don't think it's unfair to say we don't know. I don't think it's unfair to say we don't know.
If you felt like he has to air it out 35 times a game, yes, we don't know that. But last year he threw it 24 times a game. 3 years ago, he threw it 30 times a game when they were 14-1 with him starting and got to the Super Bowl. So, if he has to throw it 5 or 6 more times a game, he has shown he can do that.
Yeah, if they have to have, like Coach had it up there the other day, the league average pass attempts per game was 32.5, right?